Yeah. All right, everyone. Welcome to our January presentation of Third Thursday, Small Town Big Business. I'm Erin Passenger, a board member for Impact Corry, the organization coordinating tonight's event. Our presenter this evening is Chuck Gray, Executive Director of Impact Corry, who is about to share ideas that have emerged from our Corry Community Strategic Planning process. Using many sources of data and input from our residents, we have identified specific areas that we need to get right. And we need the community's help to make Corry a thriving community. And for more specifics on that, I will now turn the presentation over to Chuck Gray.
Hello, good evening. Thanks for coming.
Sorry.
Before we get into the meat of this planning outreach, I want to introduce myself and give you some background on how we got here. My name is Chuck Gray. I am a Corry homeowner, a very proud Corry homeowner, and the Executive Director of Impact Corry. Impact Corry is a social benefit organization that uses the tools of community development to promote prosperity and opportunity for Corry, its residents, and its neighbors. Community development begins with listening to the community, weighing data, and uniting people in action. Action that honors the community's values, priorities, and principles. When I moved from Warren to Corry and met my neighbors, I felt as if I'd found a true home. There is so much to love about Corry, and in my opinion, its people are #1 on that list. In short order, I learned that Corry is a small town that cares. Corry has your back. It's also a community that rolls up its sleeves and gets things done. And it's a community that, despite how many times it gets knocked down, always gets back up. Corry never, ever, ever gives up. Built on industry and innovation and creativity, Corry was at its last peak from the mid-1960s to the mid-1980s. But since the 1970s, nationwide economic contractions have hit Corry hard. These hits came in the form of business closures and job losses. Job losses led to the departure of residents. National inflation climbed, hitting everyone's wallet. Inflation spiked the cost of city services, resulting in higher taxes. Loss of residents also meant that increased taxes needed to keep infrastructure working were spread among a smaller and smaller population. Ultimately, taxes collected were not enough to cover expenses, and regular maintenance was deferred. Property owners also strapped for cash deferred maintenance on their homes and businesses. Vacant, abandoned, and neglected properties prompted blight, which lowered property values throughout Corry and made Corry less attractive and less able to even retain its residents. This is the cycle of disinvestment, which once begun repeats and gathers speed. Unless this cycle is interrupted with targeted and appropriate measures, there comes a point where a community cannot recover. For 50 years, Corry has been fighting to rise against these challenges. And within the last 10 years, there have been hopeful signs. Slight upticks in important indicators show that Corry is no longer in free fall. And in some areas, there are small signs of growth and activation that give hope. The change that has come has been the result of the people of Corry doing what they know is right. Business owners foregoing profit to keep Corry vital. Homeowners fixing up their properties despite equity gaps. Local foundations and businesses supporting efforts to turn things around. City employees and elected officials working to try to achieve more with less. organizations cleaning up the community, from the creation of pocket parks to the remediation of blight. Groups ensuring that the elderly of Corry can safely and happily age in place in the community they love, and making certain that no one in Corry goes hungry, even during a pandemic, even at personal risk and financial loss. Corry is a community that cares. Every day, Corry has turned out and shown up. The efforts over the last 50 years have sustained Corry and made slight upticks. And that is an accomplishment to be proud of. But so these past efforts have held the dam, but they have not turned the tide. For 50 years, the people of Corry have worked passionately to sustain one another and break the cycle of disinvestment. Despite this work, we have watched our friends and our children leave for better jobs, thriving communities, more amenities, and sometimes leave just for the hope of opportunity when their jobs here have ended. We have also watched houses decline and worried about our own property values. We all know someone who would have liked to move to Corry but couldn't find a move-in ready home in a neighborhood without blight at the right price point or quality. We have seen our middle income and upper middle income populations dwindle. We have felt the load of financial burden of keeping the garbage collected and the water running. The writing on the wall is clear. We must do something drastically different, or we will continue to get the same results until we reach a point of no return. A point when Corry's natural resiliency will not be enough to save our community. Fixing what isn't working will require hard work, a lot of it, and that work needs to begin now. The work must also focus on solving systemic issues, the causes of our decline. An example of this is aiming a fire extinguisher at the base of a fire kills the flames rising above. Or if we aim for the root cause or we treat the root cause of an illness, the symptoms will subside. We must work smart. We must choose to work where each win can be multiplied. An example of this, funds awarded to a homeowner to renovate their property must make their neighborhood more attractive, their neighbors more likely to undertake a spruce up on their own properties, which in turn will bring neighbors even closer, sharing resources and pride, enhancing the neighborhood and creating neighborhood identities. Maybe these neighbors decide to give back by completing a neighborhood fix-up or cleanup project that benefits everyone. And then other people not of that neighborhood walk or drive through this well-tended neighborhood and see the change. They start to believe that Corry is on the rise. Those who see the change and have connections to Corry feel pride and hope. These feelings then carry over to impact other parts of our community. Neighborhoods become more desirable and property values and quality of life rise, and code compliance and public space maintenance burdens are lessened. That's win-win-win. That is addressing the root cause of the problem. And this example isn't theoretical. For each point of that, I have evidence from testimonials of people involved in both our Renaissance Block and Hiram Hill projects. Those changes are already happening. When plans address root causes and create these win-win-win outcomes, each advancement multiplies all the other efforts. As Corry's past demonstrates, one organization, even one person, can accomplish a great deal. But imagine what could be accomplished if all the efforts of Corry were aligned, working together and unified by a plan to fix the root causes of the problems we face with win-win-win results. This is the motivation that led to the decision to create a 10-year community strategic plan. A plan that unites private, public, and personal efforts to save our community. A plan devised to overcome the cycle of disinvestment, a plan to celebrate what is great about Corry, and a plan that welcomes residents to help rebuild their city so it attracts opportunity, investment, and new neighbors in an upward spiral. This is the incentive that fueled Impact Corry to start this process. To fund this effort, Impact Corry approached businesses, foundations, and organizations. No tax dollars were used to fund this work. Impact Corry selected the award-winning CZB LLC to lead this planning effort because CZB does not turn out cookie-cutter plans that cannot be implemented. They work with communities to solve problems and empower residents to lead the work. The staff of CZB are proven planners with 19 years of success and an impeccable reputation. CZB was the right choice for Corry, especially because the folks at CZB do not shy away from hard work or hard truths. Plan work started with research, and a lot of it. Data, surveys, and previous studies were all used to provide a state of the city data set. With COVID restrictions keeping us from holding community-wide meetings, we also paid extra attention to previous community feedback and studies and made a few of our own. Some of these include the Corry 2020 survey, Blue Zone's wellness surveys, the City of Corry's strategic management program recommendations, past city comprehensive plans, Erie to Pittsburgh trail studies, the Rails and Trails Park survey, and a multitude of regional green space and city planning reports. We formed steering and technical committees with residents of Corry, and these individuals represent over 50 local and regional organizations, bringing those organizations' agenda items and hopes into the discussion. These volunteers reviewed the data and community concerns were placed on the table. From housing stock to drugs and jobs to roads, committee members wrestled with which concerns should be the focus of the plan's work. The goal was to find no more than 5 issues that could be addressed as a community that, once addressed, would bring real and lasting change. Some real challenges to our community did not make the short list for numerous reasons. It was decided that issues such as crime and drugs are best left to the counselors, police, and professionals with expert level knowledge and authority. But that doesn't mean that our community strategic plan can't help by focusing on change that will bring opportunity for people to make different choices. Infrastructure projects like roads are the domain of municipalities and PennDOT in Pennsylvania, not communities. This puts infrastructure out of the community strategic plan's reach. But that does not mean that our community strategic plan can't help by searching for potential funders for these municipal projects. After deep study, 5 interdependent areas of focus emerged that could turn the tide for Corry. This evening, I would like to share these 5 priorities in hopes of collecting feedback and insight from the community. And most importantly, in hopes you will consider becoming a champion of this plan. To succeed, we will need your knowledge, skills, organizations, and passion to solve the issues that threaten Corry and keep and help our community prosper. So now I am going to review the 5 areas, and then we'll dig deeper into each of the 5 areas. I believe we have champions from each here tonight, and I'm going to ask for their thoughts about the work they're doing and open it up for questions. The chat function is on, so if you want to find out more, or if you want to become a champion, just type your name and contact information into the chat feature. If Zoom chat is too much technology for you tonight, the day is over. I will stay on after this discussion and you can share your interest and contact information with me. So the 5 areas we selected to work on are strengthening our city's balance sheet, activating our city center or downtown, revitalizing our housing and neighborhoods, improving our green spaces, and ramping up our connectivity. So I'm going to give you the top points that have been discussed, and then I'd like to ask champions to identify themselves who are here tonight. So the first priority, strengthening our city's balance sheet. The goals in this area include creating sustainable policing for the Corry community. I won't get too deeply into this, but right now, the services that are provided, not just for police, but everything the city provides, the multiple services they provide are more expensive than taxes pay for. So we need to get creative to get the services we need and also get very creative about funding them. Develop a viable long-term business plan for North Hills Golf Course that increases revenue for the city and reinvests in this beautiful community asset. We also would like to explore a new future for the Corry Lawrence Airport, such that, again, it would bring new life, new investment to the area, as well as more revenue for the city to provide those services. Last, we want to develop creative partnerships to address infrastructure needs such as roads, municipal buildings, stormwater, wastewater, city services, and parks. And right now, some of the leading partnerships may be in giving assistance to the city in locating funding dollars for those, because the city staff has more things to do than it has people to do it. So if we can help them, we need to try. So who's here tonight from strengthening our city's balance sheet?
I am.
I
So
am.
Bill Roach and Chelsea Oliver.
Hey, Chelsea.
Hi, Bill.
Chelsea, I know that you have to go to the Arts Council meeting, so I'm going to ask you first. I just would like to ask you what made you want to get involved in this group, and what changes do you think it will bring for the community?
What made me want to get involved is a loaded question. No, I think this is a great way for all kinds of people of Corry to be involved and to really have their opinions heard in all these different areas. I know we've talked about a million different things and then narrowed it down to these 5. So I like the focus of each of these groups. When I think about, you know, the kind of place I want to live in and build a life in, this is the kind of place that I would want. So, you know, like a booming downtown, a neighborhood I'm not afraid to live in. All of those things that we've mentioned, you've mentioned, are things I can easily get behind, and I'm a future seeking person. So if it takes a little bit of time, I can still handle that too.
And,
what was your second question?
And specifically what you see this, your involvement in this area leading to. And Tina, I see your hand, so as soon as Chelsea finishes, I'll get to your question.
So strengthening the city's budget section. I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions or feelings towards, especially the airport and the golf course, and how those things should function into the future. And I just, again, I think it's a great way for a lot of people to be involved and have their opinions heard and make a difference in their community. So that's why I'm primarily about this group.
Awesome. Thank you. And Tina was raising her hand because actually she's a champion in that group and she was in the dark and I didn't see her. Sorry, Tina. Tina, would you like to share your thoughts of why you're a champion and how you see this affecting the community?
Yeah, honestly, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So, you know what Chelsea said kind of like just encompassed what I was thinking. You know, I've been part of the community for several years, been in finance or banking. So almost seemed like that was the niche I should be in. And, you know, Corey's just very important to me. The financial wellness, and just Corey being successful in itself as far as bringing better employment into our area, bigger businesses if you know we're able to, and that's going to be, you know, us being able to work and like you said, being creative to make that happen. I think that I think the people that are on the committee are very strong. You know, one being Bill and Chelsea and a couple of others that are on there. I think they're very strong, and I think it'll definitely, I think it'll be good. But I'm kind of getting my feet wet, getting to know what the organization is doing. But I like it so far.
Awesome. And Bill, your thoughts?
Yeah, the police is pretty expensive there, you know, 11 or 12% of our budget. Problem is most of the things that were proposed by the stamp study for the police are collective bargaining agreements. So they're not going to be easy to change. So that's something we got to look at and see what the opportunities are. We talked about mountain bike race course up on North Hills. So I looked into that some. I'm not sure that's going to be practical there because those courses tend to be 20 to 40 miles long and they have really steep downhill sections. So I have to look at that a little bit more. And I'll still send you some links to look at. Like I said earlier, I'm going to send, now including Tina, a different financial statement to look at that will relate all the cost and income to different profit centers like fire, police, roads. So that is the main activities there at this point. I did find out that at least one of the mountain bike tracks has a e-bike event.
Oh, nice.
There aren't a whole lot of electric bikes out there, but there are some of them and they are getting some play. So I'll look for that when I go over the information and get it to you.
Thank you. And at the bottom line of this is with those shrinking revenues and smaller population and the rising costs that the city faces to supply the services that we use every day, there's a disparity between income and outgo, and they've been creative, they have been resourceful, but that needs to get addressed. I think that the chief components of this plan at first will be trying to help increase revenue by looking at these areas that we could repurpose, as well as trying to bring in finances that can help catch up on deferred maintenance, like city-owned buildings and roads and things like that. I think the total was, Steve Drake told me, was 6.5 million to catch up on our roads. So I think we could help a lot by assisting the city in that way. And that's what this group kind of is about, is thinking outside the box, thinking about new ways to solve these shortfalls until the other efforts, the attracting new businesses, attracting new residents, increasing our housing viability, until those things can actually yield more income for the city we have to fix things now, because the city also is right now replacing infrastructure that's been ignored. Bill, is it safe to say decades?
Yeah,
And it's not inexpensive. I think the last thing I heard for either wastewater or sewer was 20 million. So there's a lot on their plate, and the more we can help balance that budget, any way we find to do it is going to help. So if anyone, I'm opening it up for anyone who have questions for these champions. And I also want you to know, we're sharing all this because we hope, if this is your jam, if you're into balancing the fiscal stability of the city, we want you as a champion on this team. We want to help. We want you to help. So any questions about this area before we move on?
I don't think you're going to get anywhere until we change the statements, the format of the statements, because they're just uninformative. They're more confusing than informative.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know Steve Drake very well, he's a genius. He's one of the smartest guys I ever met.
So does anyone have any questions about strengthening our city's balance sheet? And if you don't want to unmute, we can check you out in chat if you have questions. Okay, I'm going to move on to activating our city center. This will focus efforts on the historic business district of Corry and the gateway of Center Street northward to Route 6. It will also develop the Corry Rails and Trails Park, which will be a trailhead for the Erie to Pittsburgh Trail that will run in the rail yard owned by SEBA along Main Street between First and Maple. We will be helping building owners and businesses to renovate facades. We'll build streetscapes. We'll create a business district that welcomes and supports shoppers, tourists, bikers, hikers, snowmobilers. We're looking to make it accessible and navigable. We will give incentives to new businesses to grow in Corry, as well as support the growth of existing businesses in Corry. We'll be developing marketing and a virtual presence for Corry and its products, and creating an attraction or festival based on Corry's character that can grow and draw more people to Corry, as well as create wayfinding and signage in downtown Corry that makes the business district a destination. You know you've arrived at the Corry Historic Business District and you want to walk in, you want to take selfies with things. It's going to change the face. Do I have any champions here from activating our city center?
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here too.
Okay, wait, Brody, you want to go first and then I'll shut this off so Aaron can go?
Sure. So the same questions to this group, correct? Just the involvement.
What brought you to it and what do you think will change by these objectives?
I think very simply, my involvement is kind of on a personal, professional level, just really overall towards the betterment of the community. That's the bottom line. For me personally, it's just really more of an investment in my hometown. But really overall, I believe in my role and responsibility in my day job, with the Corry Higher Education Council, bearing a lot of a great deal of responsibility in the advancement of the city center, just really overall towards the development of its workforce, whether it be in the wellness of the downtown business district or its industry that surrounds it. I think really overall, much of this could really be the heartbeat of what goes on within the community. Things that would be happening or that we would be striving for within this particular plan lends itself to have a ripple effect on a lot of the other items or the other focuses sub-focuses within the plan. So I think that getting it right with the city center provides a lot of opportunities to mesh with some of those subgroups, but even more so, eventually it's going to be a place that not only people want to visit, but also want to live, grow a family, shop, and just really bring their families to enjoy, rather than just being maybe commuting in and out of town to work here. So place to live, work and play. That's what we're working on here overall. We think will have big effects later on down the line for all these other groups that are working on the plan.
Thank you, Brody. And I see your, Lisa? Lisa? Okay, she's on city center, so I was trying to, okay, I'm gonna turn it over to Aaron.
A couple of things this town could use. One of them is a
Can you hear me
a
okay?
room with good
Yes,
acoustics.
So I'm actually going to echo a lot of what Brody said. I got involved as a champion for the city center because I live here, I work here, and I play here. From the bottom of my heart and soul, I want my community to succeed, and I want to be able to show off all the cool things that we have here. A critical part of a thriving community, in my eyes, is to have a healthy, functioning downtown. And again, I too feel it's the heartbeat of any city or town. It's a place where people can come together to eat, to shop, to socialize, and to get involved. Through my job at the Redevelopment Authority, I have a lot of conversations with business owners and people looking to invest in Corry. And they're looking for key elements that downtowns have to offer. And I think we have a lot of that, but I think we could do better. So that's where I'm at, and I'm excited to be a part of this.
Well, a couple other things would be bathrooms for bikers passing through and some bottle filling stations.
All right, so, and again, this group, there's so much, if you like to think about what events could be the turnaround piece or could be built up that already exist for Corry, if you are interested in locating a business here, or if you're interested in repairing facade of buildings, all these go under activating our city center. So I'm going to open it up in case there's questions about these priorities.
Yeah, yeah, Chuck. Dave here, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Welcome.
The main thing with the city center is the development of the park in the middle to tie both areas together. And the middle part where the terminal is, etc., has to be a dynamic place, a place where families can come and, maybe even have how they have in some places in the parks where kids can jump in the fountains and things with the spritzing, but make it I've advocated that we plant a fairly decent evergreen there to grow for the future for Christmas celebration, and then set up a Christmas festival around that in the larger part of the park. I mean, there are things you can do. I mean, I've watched too many Hallmark movies this year.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of addicted to them, or well, if my wife led me down that path. But seriously, if you watch the Hallmark movies, they are predicated on downtowns that are like what we're developing right now, with the young businesses, with the coffee shops, with the various businesses. We have to encourage more of that. And I think one of the things that we need to do is somehow develop a fund of money where we can grow these businesses, almost incubator them like we did with the industrial community.
Right.
And, Rick, of course, is a genius at that, and Aaron is involved, plus many others on the call even have been involved over the years. As I said to council 3 years ago, if you don't give me an increase in taxes, you have got to go out and we have got to get money coming into the city from outside sources. And just an idea, like 2 weeks ago in Buffalo, when Lamar Hunt was beaten by the Bills, just a few citizens in what they call the Bills Mafia put out a GoFundMe page and raised $470,000 for the backpack program down in Louisville, which I have connections there, and that's a very successful program. $470,000, people giving $8 a piece or $10 a piece. I've suggested that our golf course is a hidden gem, and maybe we could start an endowment with a GoFundMe page for those people that have enjoyed the course forever and would like some way to participate in the future of the course. But we're talking about downtown, but the downtown, the golf course has a direct connection to downtown in that it brings people into the community. They don't just always come in and play golf. A lot of times they'll go to the restaurants, if their wives come in with them, they'll shop downtown. The biggest thing with downtown, two things. Number one, we have got to get serious about the second and third floors. And, we have to attack the vacant buildings. We have a changing 35 years ago, when I was mayor, things weren't too much different. We had our merchants who'd been there for a long time. Some of them were progressive, some of them were not. I think comparing now, we have a lot of young energy, young entrepreneurs who are coming in. Corry was built on entrepreneurship. And we have got to somehow, that's why the incubator was the key to success over in the industrial park. That didn't happen by accident. We took a lot of work to figure that out, that Corry's an entrepreneurial town. And we need to encourage, because a lot of these businesses can't hang on, especially in COVID, to get to profitability right away.
Right.
So that's enough. I can talk all day, but I just want to focus a couple of things on that, because we really have to take and cultivate these young entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And also some of them would probably even live downtown if we would cultivate the second and third floors. So that's enough.
I agree with you, and I will talk all day with you about it too, because you're one person who's just as obsessed as I am. I will tell you, the second floors, there's already a list of people who want to live in them. And that is, part of this would be doing a full inventory of our properties downtown, finding out what is here, what is for sale, what is for rent, and then using that to pitch to businesses that want to locate. They could have a gallery to know what the options are. They could have a resource to get established here, as well as incentives to start here. And the city also has the LERTA program, which would be great. And what Brody was alluding to is the high ed is probably going to become the epicenter for entrepreneurship and this kind of small business incubator you're talking about, as well as the job training. So what Mayor Mitchell has just shared is kind of what we're doing right now. We're looking for people to speak up with their best ideas and bring them to the table, because that's what champions are going to do. The plan has developed a kind of like bumpers in bumper pool. What is it? Bumper bowling. It's given us the things that will get us there, but it's up to our community to decide what they look like and how they prioritize and what we approach. So thank you, Mayor Mitchell, because I think that's important to know that ideas brought to the table now matter. Any other questions or comments about activating our downtown?
Just to add in, we do have a grant for the Greenway Park project, and we're kind of looking at a veterans memorial project somewhere in the downtown area, basically related to the flags that were run last year. We're going to do another round of those this spring, I think, or maybe into midsummer, and probably do some fundraising and try to set up a mall. Might be too expansive, but to set up an area where we have a couple statues that I've already ordered, and again, sizable statues of combat veterans and the, I don't know what they call it, but the the deceased veterans that have the boots and gun and helmet on it, and then build something around those. So we're kind of looking at things that we can do that not only bring new people in, but also honor the people that have lived here for all their lives, or their families.
Absolutely. And our city center park actually is already a strong homage to veterans. And along with Rick doing this work, it kind of came up that it might be a good idea to think about a naming of a park specifically for veterans. Maybe a Blue Star Family or Heroes Park, but those are all things that we're going to explore through this work. And that's why we need people at the table to talk about them.
So I did talk to Jeff Zertney, who's an architect out in Warren, and he's going to start looking at that and trying to put something together. So I think we're going to need a small committee to kind of review that with him. I don't want him to kind of run off and do his own thing, but I think it's important to have community input, and I think Sarah would be great on that committee. She's a veteran, aren't you? But anyway, so that's kind of where we're heading with that.
Awesome. Any other questions or interest?
Yeah, Chuck, Dave here.
Mhm.
It just hit me. One of the things to make a downtown viable is you have to have a reason for people to come to the downtown. We've seen that with the Painted Finch and the Whistle Stop, the extensive advertising, and with other businesses now. And people from out of the region will remark to me that they've seen the ads, they've come to Corry, and some of them are up to 50, 60 miles out of the region.
Mhm.
The reason I say that is we need something, and we have one of the, my stance on the Climax engine, we won't get into it, but we produce the finest well pumps in the world in Corry. And the well pumps, you say, well, what's that? These pumps, there's still some of them that were produced probably 100 years ago, still active in Siberia and in the northern countries. There are huge festivals in the summer around us, Sagertown, Meadville, that bring in hundreds of people at the steam engine and these types of things.
Mhm.
And we should have those pumps displayed in the center of town where they were made, not out on Mead Avenue. We should have them, and that's not taking anything away from the museum. It's just an extension of the museum.
Right.
And actually can enhance the museum by encouraging people to go see more of the museum.
Well, and this
Right.
group is actually, the downtown theming or branding is going to be based on our industrial past. It's going to kind of have a steampunk vibe, we believe. That's what has been turning out. And invention is going to be at its core. We're talking potentially about a festival that celebrates invention and challenges people to create invention in all areas. From, I know Kim has brought to the table food invention. And so the things from New Bone Corset that built our post office to Wells pumps still working in Siberia, we are going to find ways to honor our past and celebrate it and make it the destination you're talking about, with festivals and a feeling that people want to join.
Chuck,
Yeah.
this is Carl.
Hey, Carl.
How are you?
Good.
Just wanted to pop in on what Dave was talking about there, that the actual beginning with Corry Rails wasn't just to go after the Climax A.
Right.
The beginning of it had to do with creating a or several annual events based upon local industry. And we have a list that we are searching for, some very rare pieces that may or may not exist. And Ajax, we're looking for a couple of specific things on Ajax also. So that all comes into the play, and the use of that property down, the rail property, for those events to bring it to the center of town.
And Carl, does that mean you want to be an activating downtown champion?
I don't know. I'm I just zoomed in to see what's going on.
Well, and I know Carl and I believe are friends. We have talked a lot. These guys, Corry Rails, have been a phenomenal force. What they have been achieving and the vision they have, they are going to be a draw all their own for Corry. They are going to be something that people travel states to see. So the fact that we're looking at new ways of doing this does not discount what's already being done. We have to integrate directly with groups like Corry Rails, and they have to be part of our planning so that we can accommodate the work they're doing. And that's the beauty of this plan, is that come into the tent, share what you want. Let's make the dream such that we can accommodate everyone.
Yeah, Dave here again. I'd like to thank Carl and his group for the vision and of course all the hard work they've done, because it's like anything. You are your heritage, you are your history. And Corry has a great, fantastic history that's been buried for years. I think we're the most important community in the oil boom. We were the first community to ship oil and railhead and be the boom town. We had a Wild West town here. And then that promoted the entrepreneurship that lasted through the years, because a lot of these people stayed here. And the Climax engine is a great result of that, including people like Hubie Vaughn with Corry Manufacturing and many, many others. So I really like the trend that you're going on. And I really feel myself that bringing the Climax in with the group and highlighting that, I know personally people that will travel halfway across the United States to see a locomotive.
We have, thanks, Dave. We have people in New Zealand that are already talking about coming up, and others, and friends of ours in Alaska that we've brought along over the last 3 years that will be here.
And this past that we're talking about is also, that's kind of why we're going with the steampunk vibe, because we are not going to be a Chautauqua. Look at Corry. That is not our attraction. It would take us a lifetime to build to that level. We need to celebrate who we are. We need to be proud of our industrial past. And we also have to link it to what people want now. And this vibe, this reverence for the past and this love of rust and upcycling, this is going to hit target markets that we've identified of bringing young folks back to start businesses, start families, locate here, because this vibe is a cool vibe. It is Corry. It is not artificial. We have the history and we're gonna make the present. I'm gonna move on to revitalizing our housing in neighborhoods because we're getting close to time. In revitalizing our housing in neighborhoods, the objective points are focusing first on the most traveled near downtown neighborhoods. If you're familiar with Renaissance Block, it will actually include more houses. We actually go north to Route 6 and a little bit south of Maine. But if we spread the concept behind it is if we spread our resources all over Corry, it won't make an impact. We need to start with the center where everything else is and work outward. We're working with programs. Some people are going to be familiar with Renaissance Block. Another program we're talking about called Paint the Town, which would help, it'd be a volunteer-led effort to literally paint the houses that need it in Corry. We're looking at a forgivable loan product and incentivizing people to repair or renovate their properties. We're also looking to support the city and its citywide inspection program. We're going to continue to work with the land bank and other entities to remediate vacant and abandoned properties. And we're going to develop incentives to attract people to live and work in Corry. Some initial concepts from that group are Bring Our Kids Home package that would incentivize people who've lived in Corry and are now ready to settle in and make a business and make a life back to Corry. Also looking at working with CNI and potentially creating an acquisition and disposition fund. And what that means is when there's a property that's kind of fallen through the holes and no one's taking care of it, to find a way to acquire it and repurpose it for a higher use. No one, our champions from this group, all of them tonight, they have competing obligations. So I spoke with Christy Elchinsky, one of our champions, to share a story she had told. And for this, I'm gonna set it up by saying Charles Buki is a very outspoken man and the leader of our planning group. When they came in, this is Christy's response to the challenges he laid down to our champions. When Impact Corry contacted Charles Buki, I was hesitant. I thought, here we go again, fronting money to an organization that's going to tell us what we need to do and not do in Corry to grow and prosper. Then we get the report and it'll sit on a shelf getting dusty for the next 5 years. But unlike other reports, Buki's ideas excited me. It made me see what Corry could look like and be like if we carried out our vision. It almost seemed too good to be true. So I asked for a meeting with Charles Buki. I told him I love this community and wanted to see more retirees stay here, families that want to move here, and young people that want to come back to Corry after finishing college be invited to. I asked him not to, this is Christy, I asked him not to BS me. I asked him if this was just a business for him or if he had a passion for what he did. He convinced me he had a passion for the work. He told me how his mom led a similar crusade in the hometown he grew up in. And he also shared how you can be successful and how you can change the trajectory of a small town like Corry. He was straightforward on how much work it will take. He convinced me that if it's to be a success, we have to buy in, and our community has to buy in. With everything that's going on in our country, I am even more convinced I want to work, live, and play in Corry, and work, live, and play in the Corry that this plan gives us a peek of. So any questions or Tina Freeman, thank you for the little clapping hands. Okay, seeing none, and since we're tight on time, I'm going to move on to improving our green spaces. The goals of this group would be to complete the trail gaps in the Erie to Pittsburgh Trail between the Green Junction trailhead behind Tim Hortons and Spartansburg, eventually Spartansburg. It's going to take a while. This is a 10-year plan. Connecting the parks and green spaces of Corry with trails. Working to create a perimeter of streets with beautiful sidewalks, shade trees, interactive art, and wayfinding. And support improvements in local parks and recreation areas. We have a few people from this group. Kim, do you want to kick us off in why you joined and what you see this achieving?
Sure. I'm very excited to be a part of the team, for improving green spaces, because the green spaces, trails, parks are not only a way for people to relax and kind of get some of their health and wellness things in, but it's a way for us to connect. If we're out on the trails, we see our neighbors, we actually have a chance to talk with them rather than just passing by when we're driving, down the street. I think a good example of that, as part of the team, looking at some of the trail locations, most of the team went out and scouted a trail location around the golf course. And as I said, I grew up here. I'm not a golfer. I have never been on the golf course, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. So if there's a trail that's available to people, then they can actually see more of what the city actually has to offer. I think, everything that we're doing will tie in with the Blue Zone activities, which there's so much work and so much benefit that can be, gained, from that. But one of the things that I think is really key is, in addition to just building trails, for health and exercise and fresh air, which we all need in these current times, they're going to connect us to our downtown. They're going to connect us to where we live. So again, it's just another form of connectivity for all of the residents that are here today, but it's also a very interesting feature and almost required for a lot of the young people that we want to try to get to come back, or any other residents. People are looking to see what type of infrastructure do you have, and where people have trails, the community is viewed as being more prosperous. The home values along those trails typically are better. Hopefully it will help bring more people back into the city and help with the city budget. And I think the more that we enhance the reputation of the city, it will help attract both people who want to live here as well as people who want to come and visit for some of the festivals and things that we just talked about for the city center. And as I think Dave or Bill mentioned, we're the trail, we want to go through the rail and trail park, but that will also be part of the Erie to Pittsburgh Trail. And when we get that linkage all complete, that could actually help be a big economic boom for Corry as well. And I would love to have other people join in as well.
Ashley, I saw you were on here. Do you want to say anything? You're on this committee too.
I am on here, and I'd love to talk about this committee. I think for me, being part of Blue Zones is certainly what drew me to this committee. But I think when you think about Corry, the trails that are already there are such a natural asset that really need drawn more to the front. And it consistently amazes me whenever I well, for example, Shannon and I would post some Facebook lives from the trails over the summer. We would get so many comments about people not realizing those trails existed in Corry. And these were people from Corry. And so through expanding those and advertising them, certainly drawing the importance of our natural resources and something that makes Corry very unique, but also something that is highly sought after. As I've traveled and learned in my line of work, trails and access to the outdoors and the natural environment are quickly becoming high priority for individuals who are looking to move to a new location or work remotely. And so I think they play such a role in economic development, even outside of the potential for tourism, but also as a means to get people to relocate to where we are.
And I also, you guys hit all the points on this, but it just is astounding what a difference it can make in a community to be connected in this way on foot. And it'll come back to me. It was really important, but apparently it's late. Anyone else? I know I had a request that the champion didn't want to speak. Chelsea, anything you want to throw in on this one, since you are a dual champion?
Dual champion. I'm going to put that on my resume. Yeah, I mean, just echoing what they both said. I mean, especially if we're trying to reach a younger demographic who might be able to work from home too with the connectivity, which you're about to talk about. When I was working from home through COVID, the best thing for me were the trails. And I was out there every day, sometimes multiple times a day, able to see people and interact with nature. Like, nature for me is therapy. So I have to be on this group.
And I remembered what it was. This group, the city has been incredibly helpful. They own a lot of property that will connect our assets, and they'll stay in their ownership, but we're trying to apply for money to advance these trails. But there is so much to do in this group, from deciding what travels when on what trails to what the amenities are and what's the wayfinding like. And also this group will probably help, well, they are helping with the downtown rail and trail park, with the Mead Park improvements, with anything that we decide to do with the golf course. This group will come in and help because they're going to become champions of green spaces. Even the country club, we're gonna look for ways to do this. And I heard from another champion on the call that she would speak up. Sarah Jukes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that with this whole program, I look at it like, Corry as this great house with these good old bones, and it just needs a little effort, and it can be something so amazing and so beautiful. And I signed up to be on the green spaces part of it because, just like Chelsea said, that's kind of, my healing spot and my thing. And knowing the beauty that surrounds Corry and that we can help people get there and use it, especially at a time when it just seems like that connection with nature and exercise can be so helpful to everyone. It's just, one of the things that I wanted to help move forward.
Awesome. Thank you. And I know we're 4 minutes over. I'll try to wrap up quickly on connectivity. The last item in our last priority is called ramping up our connectivity. The first phase of this would be a free mobile hotspot in downtown Warren. We actually got out ahead of ourselves in that all of a sudden Erie County had money and it had to be spent on technology. It couldn't be spent, like, yes, it would have been great to spend it on roads, but it was for technology. We applied and received the funds to put in a free mobile hotspot in downtown Corry. And the company who did it actually donated 2 years of the service to Corry. And the thing that's great about this, whether you use a free mobile hotspot or not, why this is so important is now we have a wireless provider in Corry. Up until now, we've had cable and we've had satellite dish, I guess, and a little bit of fiber that really served large scale business. This wireless provider is a game changer for Corry, not just for the services it can provide to local folks, but this is a starting point. I'm going to jump to phase 3 of this, of connectivity, because it's really exciting, which is that we would have high-speed connectivity throughout the entire school district. Currently, there's about 45% of our students that cannot use online learning because of access, affordability, or quality of internet. This company coming here will help us spread out through the school district, which is a land speed change for Corry, as well as the future is limited for copper cable. It is limited. So we're looking to that. The second phase, I'm going to go back now one, is universal fiber access throughout the city of Corry. Right now, Zito invested some years back and has a fiber loop in Corry, and they supply a lot of industries that need a stable ISP. I barely understand what I'm talking about here, so I'll stop that nonsense. But they are looking for services that start around $1,000 a month. That's not, and they're not, that's what they're interested in providing. That's what they've invested here for. And we are grateful for them because they keep our industries here. They're part of that ecosystem. However, we needed something that stores downtown won't have credit card machines crap out on them or sit there watching a spinning ball of death when they're trying to do their accounting online. Universal fiber throughout Corry, it's a game changer. Your internet lives will not be the same. And we're doing this in a style that we're looking at a co-op provider model, which means we can provide the services at lower costs, have more control over where it goes. It's going to be a huge change for folks. And then lastly, the goal is universal high speed throughout the school district. That right now, we'll be doing a video somewhat like this soon where we're asking for people's input. We're trying to get all connectivities throughout the school district, all issues, so we can literally make a map of where the problems are. And we have a bunch of IT consultants who are volunteering and looking at existing internet and topography maps and where our problems are. They're going to develop a system that can cover our entire school district. So telemedicine can work, students can go online. You can watch any movie you want, anytime you want. It's really going to be different for Corry. And the thing that I think that a lot of people that gets overlooked in this is Corry grew up because rail lines were the height of connectivity at that time. And that's why Corry boomed. But we're kind of away from the center of commerce now. We're still surviving. We're finding a way to do it. But bringing the fastest means of how businesses transacted today through the heart of Corry is going to reconnect us with that fertile base of sales and economy. So this, obviously, I'm a little passionate about this one. Sorry about that. And I was hoping Garrett, one of our champions with this group, he's hosting the Arts Council meeting tonight, and apparently it's going long. I was hoping he would speak because he's even a bigger geek about it than I am. But anyway, that's the 5. So questions, comments about any of them, and we'll get this wrapped up so you can have home lives.
To your comments about connectivity, amen. We've been working on this for many, many years. On rural development, a couple times we got bills. I've been in the offices in Harrisburg, both legislative and bureaucratic. We've never been able to push it over the line. I think we now have a way of pushing it over the line. And the major thing is, just before I forget it, the Center for Rural Development, you need to look that up. And I don't know if you've worked with them.
Yep.
And they have been pushing this for a long time. So we'll talk more about it, but thank you so much. I mean, I hope the people on this call understand how significant this piece is to the future of this region, not just Corry. And your point about the rails just brings it right home. Mm-hmm. And the new rails for the future is the connectivity. So we need to do everything we can do. And I will be doing that with our legislators, with our agencies to get to that point.
And I do have to give 2 shout outs. Charles Buki said about this, our planner said about this priority. Being connected does not guarantee that Corry will succeed, but without being connected, it won't. So it is vital to the work we're going to do. And I also want to give a shout out to the RDA and the county because, okay, remember that first money I mentioned? Well, we found out there was some more money in that account, and we requested and received $500,000 to purchase fiber to install in Corry. And thank you to the RDA where we're housing that fiber and all the hardware to go with it. And then local businesses, and actually an Erie business as well, donated over $200,000 through NAP tax credits, which means they donate to us and they can get some tax credits back. But that means that money means that at least 10 miles of that fiber can be implemented downtown this summer. So we have about 40 more miles to fund to cover all of Corry. So we probably have a little over $1 million to still fund. But it's amazing the opportunity we got to receive these funds and just really jump out quickly on this. Any questions, any volunteers, anything? I know we've said a lot and shared a lot, and I want to thank everyone who did.
Doc,
yes.
What's the perimeter, the basic outlying 4-direction perimeter of the downtown installation part of that
The
fiber?
downtown installation will be the city limits. That's what's drawn. However, okay, we were able to afford enough that we will actually go outside city limits. And I'll draw. So here's the city. It will go out in spokes outside the city to support further development for the school district phase. So some places outside the city will be getting it earlier than others. But yes, city limits kind of first. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. You can contact me if you have questions or thoughts, director@impactcorry.com. And now I'm going to turn off my volume because Erin has something to share as well before we leave for the night.
Just wanted to give a quick plug for our next third Thursday. which will be Thursday, February 18th at 6 p.m. We're going to have Dr. Lisa Miller, owner of Resource and Governance Consulting in Erie. She'll talk with us about deciding how to pivot our niche to meet the changing needs, specifically in the wake of COVID-19. So invites will go out in a couple weeks, and we hope to see you there.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Have a great night, everyone.